Hi everyone, thanks for coming to this meetup. As you see, I'm going to be talking about Pastéis de Belém or similar Pastéis. As the Portuguese know, there's only one Pastel de Belém. You might know me, the ones who've been here to this meetup before, as one of the organizers. My day job is as DevOps and continuous delivery consultant. And so I want to ask you for a little bit of patience. I want to talk about two formulas. I promise it's not going to be that bad, and then we'll get more funny at the end. So first formula is called flow efficiency. This is a metric. It's quite simple, really. It's just measuring how much of the time it takes to get a piece of work into the hands of the customers. So from the moment we start working on it until it's ready. From the elapsed time, how much were we actually doing something on that piece of work versus how much time it was waiting for something or someone or a team to do something. So the interesting part about this is there is this blog, but there are also other studies that confirm that on average, work spends 85% of the time waiting. So only 15% of the time that it takes for a piece of work to get into our customers is actually active work on this coding or testing or what have you. The rest of the time is waiting on average. And actually, this is actually kind of a good if you get 15%. In many places, it's even less than that. So the point I'm trying to make here is that it's not so much about how long it takes to do something, how long it takes to code, to build, to deploy. Obviously, that's important to optimize, but especially in larger organizations, the issue is how long the work is waiting until it's ready for our customers. Because in the end, they're the ones who are waiting for something to be ready that they've asked or they've paid for, and we're not delivering as fast as we could. So that's the first formula. Formula number 2 is something called Little's Law. Anyone heard of Little's Law? Okay. So this has been proven to apply through very different kinds of systems as long as it's a stable system. So a stable system is one where the resources are more or less stable. They don't change all the time. There's no chaos. You more or less know what's the throughput of that system. So what this means, to give you an example, is if we want to know on average how many clients are in our store, that number L depends on the arrival rate of customers, how many customers are arriving at our store per period of time, and also depends how fast we can serve the customer so that he can leave because he's bought whatever he needs. So that's basically Little's Law. And so why is this interesting for software? Is that the equivalent, or based on this law, we can get to this other formula, which is quite interesting, which is the number of work in progress, work items that we've started working on but are open, not closed, depends on the throughput, how many items we can process per period of time, per sprint or week or whatever you use, and the cycle time, how long it takes for each, on average, for each work item between the time it starts, we start working on it until it's delivered. So what do you think happens if we're starting more work? So we're increasing the work in progress. What do you think happens? Well, the throughput doesn't change. It can change a bit, but it doesn't change very quickly because the throughput depends on the number of people you have in your teams doing the work, depends on your processes, depends a bit also on the tools that you have. And as a consultant, I can tell you that doesn't change very quickly, especially process and people. So that is kind of stable. So what happens if you increase the number of work in progress is that cycle time is going to increase. The time it takes for each work item to go from start to end is going to increase. Basically, the work takes longer to finish, and the clients are going to be waiting longer. So I wanted just to check, has anyone heard about, who has heard about work in progress before? And keep your hands in the air. And from you, in your team, who talks about work in progress as a measure? Okay, keep your hands in the air. And do you set a limit for the work in progress?
I do, but someone on my team doesn't know it, so I'm doing a bad job.
It's okay. You can discuss that afterwards. And is that limit lower than the number of team members or higher?
It's actually, well, we have two, well, for the work in progress, it's the same as the team members.
Okay, cool. So what happens by default if you're not thinking about work in progress limit is that in reality, the work in progress is equal at least to the number of team members. So if you have 5 people in your team, each one is going to take one task if you're not pair programming and stuff like that. So you'll have at least 5, and then it tends to grow to maybe between 5 and 10 because someone is working and they're blocked. They depend on something that they can't control. Okay, I'm going to start a new task so that I'm not stopped. So you keep increasing the WIP, the work in progress. That's what happens typically. But we can do something about that. We can limit the work in progress. And it's quite easy, okay? Relatively, you don't need approvals, or you shouldn't need approvals to decide this inside your team. You don't need to hire new people. You don't need to learn new tools. You just, as a team, decide, let's give it a try and see if we can improve the cycle time. So what I suggest that you try in your team is to start setting a WIP limit. If you are cautious, you might just want to set it to the number of team members. It's better if it's less than the number of team members because that's going to force people to collaborate on tasks. But at least the number of team members. What does that mean? That each person is either going to be working on one task or they're going to be helping someone else finish a task. They're not going to have 2, 3, 4 tasks open that they're responsible for at the same time. Give it a try and see what happens. That's my point here. So I promise there will be a funny part at the end. So I have an exercise I want to run. I'm going to need 2 volunteers, brave volunteers. It's probably better if you don't have high cholesterol. And I just need 2 people. I'm not going to ask any questions. It's just come on stage. Come on, I'm not going to do any harm. Thank you. What's your name?
Simon.
Manuel. Simon? Someone else?
Come on, guys.
Are you going to be forced volunteer? Oh.
Hello, Juliano.
What's your name again?
Juliano.
Julian. Julian and Simon. My assistant's going to bring the task.
Oh,
So, do you have high cholesterol?
no.
You have high cholesterol?
No.
No, good. So I'm going to need, so the task is eat 4 Pastéis Belém, okay? It's the same task for both of you, but there are specific instructions. So Simon, you're going to eat like normal people do, 1 at a time. Obviously 4 is not too much. People eat 5, 6. You take 1, you eat it. When you finish, you take the next one.
Okay. Can I share with someone? No.
No. Julian, you're going to have to put all the Pastéis Belém in your mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do 3. Let's do 3. Okay.
I get home.
3. You put all of them in your mouth and then you start eating. And the point is to see who's going to finish first. You don't have to rush, you just have to follow the instructions. Okay? Let's do 3. 4 is maybe too much.
Okay, let's do 3. 3 I can do.
So you eat 1 at a time and you put the 3 in your mouth and then you start eating it. Exactly.
Is this live streamed on YouTube? No, I'm just joking.
Okay, 1, 2, go.
No way.
Maybe we should have gotten the small ones. Okay, you put the whole one in your mouth and then you eat it. By the way, I saw this exercise, I just adapted it to Portuguese, so it's not my creation.
Next time, the small one, please. For the next victim.
Okay.
What was the original food?
Marshmallows.
Oh.
It was like a whole bag. This is much better. Come on.
I think we are equally fast, right? So I will share
No,
my work
you-
actually with the team and the watch master. So that's what you actually, what was your point of the talk, right? Somebody?
I've been very slow. Just for the,
Take your time.
just to be polite.
There's a bathroom in the left if we need to play.
You can eat four of them.
He's more efficient, actually.
Yes. This failed.
Shit.
I think because
I should win, right?
you are talking too much.
Yeah.
Not enough eating.
Problem is you choose the wrong guy, or I choose myself, but I like to enjoy things like
Okay,
this.
he won. So forget about this talk. It's all. Thank you very much. You can take if you want.
I start with them?
Thank you. So obviously,
Good one.
the point is, should have happened the opposite, right? The person who has a lot of work at the same time takes longer to finish. But I think we had some sabotage there.
Maybe with marshmallows, your theory will be okay.
Yeah, I think they were too big because you need to put them all in your mouth at the same time. Anyway, I hope you had fun, and we'll continue with the next speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that was the point, to stop starting and start finishing. And there are references, so in the end you can look at the slides. We'll publish all the slides.